Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series on spellcasting in the Brand New Player's Handbook, talking about the Bard. Bards are charisma-based full casters and a fan favorite, and their spellcasting is arguably their strongest trait. They get some cool stuff from their subclasses, and they certainly aren't weapon or damage dealers most of the time. There's exceptions to that. But the generic bard loves their magic. Today we're talking about a real turning point in the game, 5th level spells. These happen at character level 9 for a bard. So we are right at the cusp of tier 2. Right in that sweet spot in the game where magic isn't quite warping reality just yet, but it certainly is reaching kind of a pinnacle of power. These are the strongest spells you're going to get right until the tier 3 of the game, and at that point, spellcasting starts to get kind of dumb strong. So we're still in sort of reasonable territory, so how are we going to cap this off? 5th level spells represent a ceiling when it comes to the lower tiers of spells, and what I've done here is I've prepared a short list, a top 5. I've got 2 from the utility section of the spells, 2 that I would recommend for combat, as well as an honorable mention that could come from either one. And I'm going to talk about those here in just a moment. Before we do, though, I'd like to let you know, Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. First, you get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know you're a supporter. Also, you get early access to my videos. I upload videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I upload them a day early for members only. And finally, you get VIP access in the community Discord. Anyone can join Relaxed Fantasy Review's Discord. There's links in the channel and video description. But if you are a channel member, you get to go right in the VIP room and talk directly to me about your character concepts, about your campaign, about the YouTube channel, whatever you like. If any of that sounds interesting to you, you can click the join button. It's just down there next to the subscribe button. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. Just being here at all, watching the video, liking, subscribing to the channel, these are all wonderful ways to support me. So thank you for watching my content here on YouTube. So we'll start with the combat spell, and for my number 2 pick for combat spells, I'm going to go with Animate Objects. Animate Objects used to be one of my favorite spells in the game, and it certainly is still a phenomenal, powerful spell, but it has been nerfed. In the old days, you could animate 10 tiny objects. They could all fly at your enemies with their blind sight. They didn't do a whole lot of damage each, D4 plus your spellcasting modifier, but there were 10 of them. And upcasting, you could make even more, shredding enemies with, masses of attacks. That isn't the way Animate Objects works anymore. Now, you can still animate objects, and they come in 3 size categories. Medium or smaller, you can make up to 5 of them. If you go with a large object, you can make 2 and then have enough energy for 1 medium or smaller as well. And if you do a huge object, then you just get 1 of those, and you could throw a large one in as well. The thing about it is that you might still think, well, okay, 5 small objects, maybe I can, upcast it. But upcasting doesn't get you more objects anymore. It gets you more power. It makes each object do more damage. So it does still scale. The thing about it is that the bigger objects, if you do medium or smaller, they do a D4 plus 3, and that's set. So if you have 5 of them, that's 5d4 plus 15, assuming all hit. Which is not bad. That's not bad for a bonus action in your concentration. But when you look at some of the other objects, if you go with 2 large objects, they each do a 2d6 per object plus 3 plus your spellcasting modifier. So they actually, at this level, are likely doing 2d6 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus your spellcasting modifier is 5. So they're likely doing 15 damage each. So, yeah, they're doing probably almost as much as the smaller objects, and they have twice the hit points. Not to mention, the huge object is doing 2d12, so they're almost doubling the damage. And when you upcast, each object gets more damage dice of their type. So the small ones get more d4, the large ones get another d6, and the huge ones get another d12. So upcasting can empower them quite a bit. I don't think that this is the broken, obvious pick that it used to be. It's still a good spell and still merits talking about as one of the best weaponized bonus actions at this level, not to mention putting more bodies on the battlefield, making animated objects that can take hits for you and your party, and it does have some utility functionality, but it's mainly a combat trick. And it still is worth doing. I'm just going to be animating big objects now instead of lots of tiny ones. Maybe, you still want to animate a bunch of small ones. Maybe you're like using the legacy version of the spell. And if your DM says you can, congratulations, you win. But for me, I'm going to just be using one big object on the battlefield and having it slam people around. Oh, also, they do force damage now. So no more arguing whether the bludgeoning damage is magical or not. It's force damage. So that's nice. Anyway, over to the utility side of the game, we're talking about Teleportation Circle. This is my pick for number 2 on the list. Teleportation Circle is a world hopper. When you learn the spell, you learn a couple circles that make sense for your character to know. Maybe if they're major cities or major mages guild, or maybe your bastion has one, I don't know. But either way, the Teleportation Circle spell lets you with a... It does take a while, like I think it takes a minute to cast, maybe it's 10 minutes. It's not something you can just do in combat, but you draw up a circle and then you and a bunch of creatures can walk through it and then you get teleported to a different one. The difference is that you can't just teleport anywhere you want. You can cast the spell wherever, but you can only teleport to a location of a circle that you know. The handy thing about this is it does allow you to expand your world quite a bit, because when you go to new places, you can learn new circles, dedicating your memory to them. And this means you can just create a teleportation network. If bastions are in different locations, if you're going to different castles, different towns, different mages guilds, whatever, you can learn all of their circles, and it lets you skip travel quite easily. This is a phenomenal spell, and it doesn't quite hold up to the full teleport spell that you get, but that's like 4 levels from now. So here at level 5, this is one of the best ways to get around in all of D&D. So gotta put it on the list. Before I get to the number 1s, I just want to mention the honorable mention, and this is mostly a combat spell, although it also can be used as a utility one, and that is Dominate Person. Dominate Person, oh boy, this is mind control. We've talked before about how Charm Person and Suggestion are sort of like mind control. This just straight up is. You target a creature, they make a saving throw, and if they fail it, you can control them. You can give them instructions and they'll follow them generally, or you can use your full action to just puppet them, taking full control of their body. This is one of the scariest spells in the game, especially if it's used against players. But if you're fighting humanoids, maybe a bandit captain or a guard captain or a mercenary captain, a cult leader, who knows? You could even mind control the king if you can get away with it. Dominate Person just is so good. In combat, it's great because you can just force creatures to attack their friends. This gives you one more person on your team, and the enemy's just lost one. Every time they take damage, they do get to repeat the save, but apart from that, they're just yours to puppet. And upcasting it actually increases the time limit, taking it from a quick combat trick to being able to mind control someone for the better part of a day. Who knows what you get away with that? So yeah, it's a good spell. It's solid. It doesn't necessarily work in late game because it only works on humanoids, but it's still quite impressive, and I've got to give it the honorable mention here. Right, the number 1 spell that I'm going to give for the utility in the game for bards is Scrying. Scrying is such a good spell that people just have a hard time wrapping their heads around. So let me paint a picture for you. You need to spy on someone. You don't know where they are, you don't know how to get to them, and you don't have any clue, but you have an object that belonged to them. Maybe you even have a lock of their hair or something. You cast Scrying. The creature makes a saving throw. If it's a friendly creature, they could fail it on purpose. But assuming it isn't a friendly creature, they get to make a save. If you have an object that used to belong to them, or, like I said, a little piece of them, like a lock of their hair, their saving throw gets significantly penalized. So it's really hard for them to make. If they fail, you then have a sensor, a floating, invisible camera, basically, that can look at them and their surrounding area. Scrying lets you spy on someone, anyone on the same plane of existence as you, and if you don't have anything that belongs to them or anything like that, you can still try. It takes a while to cast, and you can think of it like having a crystal ball mixed with a remote drone camera that's invisible. You can do this at locations, but the main thing you do is to use it to spy on people. And you can spy on people all over the world. It doesn't matter if they're friend or foe. If you need to, show the king something, you could cast Scrying for him and spy on the king in a different country, and he could see the secret meeting or the army he's raising. You could look at the BBEG wizard in his tower. This is a divination spell, so it can be blocked through several means, but there are ways that you can just use Scrying to get all the information you need. The layouts of dungeons, the plans of the enemy, the locations of treasure. Heck, you could even use it to figure out where the big bad guy's base is if you don't know, just by looking at the surrounding area and trying to get a fix on where the enemy is. Scrying is such a good spell. I think it is one of my favorite spells in all of D&D, and at 5th level, this is a snap pick for me. It's not always going to be useful. There will be creatures that are immune to it because of their magic, but in general, it gives you so much information. I really have a hard time going without it. As far as your combat trick, though, like I said, animate objects used to be the go-to spell, and it's still fine, but now I have to give it to Synaptic Static. This one wasn't in the original Player's Handbook. It was added later on in a different book, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, maybe? Maybe it was Xanathar's Guide. It was added in a later book, and now it's in the Player's Handbook. And oh boy. See, bards don't get a lot of damaging spells. They get some, but the last time you got a really meaningful area of effect damaging spell was way back at your level 2 spells with Shatter. Bards don't get Fireball. Bards don't get, big boom effect. Synaptic Static is your answer for that. It's a 5th level spell. You cast it. It creates a big area, 20-foot radius, same as a Fireball. Creatures make an intelligence saving throw, the best saving throw in the game to target. Most creatures will fail. They take the same damage as Fireball, 8d6, but it's psychic damage, so rarely resisted, and the debuff is insane. When a creature fails its save, they have to subtract from their saving throws for the next minute. They can keep saving to try to get rid of this effect, but they're subtracting from the saves. They're subtracting from everything that you're doing in combat to them. Other casters, even characters like monks or fighters that have saving throw based abilities. This is going to be awesome. It muddles their minds, scrambling them. And the damage is decent. I mean, it's not incredible for 5th level. I think Cone of Cold does more, but you don't get that as a bard. This is Fireball level damage with an amazing rider, a phenomenal saving throw, a good area on the battlefield, and it does psychic damage, which is really, really hard to beat. Synaptic Static is the psychic Fireball, and it is your best friend on the battlefield. You're not going to use it every combat. It's not going to be every fight, but this will wipe out, most minions on a battlefield and could muddle the thoughts of some of the bigger enemies. This is your bardic AoE, and I find it really hard to see a fight where the bard has Synaptic Static and it isn't a major detriment for your enemies. It is powerful, it's thematic, and it's just so cool. I gotta give it number 1 for combat. So yeah, that's it. My recommendations, if you're playing a level 9 bard and you don't know what spells to pick, grab Scrying, learn how to use it well so that you can spy on people. Grab Synaptic Static as a combat emergency power. Dominate Person is incredible. And then, Animate objects is still fun, and Teleportation Circle is amazing for world hopping. There is so much here, and there's plenty of other good spells here at level 5. These just happen to be the ones that I think are the most widely useful in most adventuring situations. You're going to be hard-pressed to find an adventure that doesn't have at least a couple of these as, game changers. So yeah, I hope that helps. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.